Welcome to the Pursuit Podcast, your ultimate guide for pursuing all the best parts of life. Hosted by Jafon Evans and Jonathan Johnson. This is episode 3. So, babe, one thing I want to ask you is, as someone who's on social media a lot, has it changed how you portray yourself? Do you ever find yourself trying to please an audience, a wide audience, or in any sense like that, or trying to be different than you actually are?
I think so. I think being on social media, especially in this day and age, is so easy. Like we talked about in the first episode, it's so easy to like compare yourself. And then it makes you feel, like less of, because you're looking at it, you're like, I don't have this or I don't have that. So it might make you feel like less of. I think for me, in a sense, what helps me, because I will get on there and, I will, go through the rabbit hole that is social media. I think what helps me when it comes to comparison or when it comes to like knowing who I am and like people pleasing, I think what helps me is like taking social media breaks. I take a lot of social media breaks, and it's hard because I'm someone who works on social media, like that's my job. But I like to take breaks from social media, whether it's like a week, whether it's a couple of days, just being able to get out of that space and then get back into who I am. Just being able to, block out all the noise and just figure out, okay, I'm me and I'm fine with that. Like I'm good with that. So I think taking social media breaks helps me do that.
It's interesting that you say that. I feel like when people take breaks like that, it's really like when you're on social media, I feel like you're experiencing so much of other people's lives that's the part that gets overwhelming, or the constant, oh, I could be doing that. I wish I was there. Like, why can't I get that many views? That sort of thing. So it always is good to get a break. Yeah. A couple of weeks ago when we did our fast, social media is one of the things I was fasting from, and that was difficult, literally doing social media every single day.
Yeah.
But it feels good to like find your center. I think you learn to make more time for yourself, more time to like grow yourself and actually work on self-improvement.
Yeah.
Versus just consuming. You're actually developing yourself more.
So do you find yourself ever, when you post on social media, do you find yourself posting for the approval of others or like for attention, or like do you post for yourself? Like when you post on social media, what's the intent behind it?
I think there's obviously part of that where, you want to get likes, you want to get comments, you are seeking recognition. Like you can't run from that on social media. I would say with a lot of like personal pictures and stuff, I think you want to portray yourself to the best light, show yourself off a little bit, moments that you're proud of, people you're proud to be with. So there's that aspect of it. I never feel like I'm being different than myself. I just think I'm trying to like show the highlights. And that was something we talked about in episode 1 about everyone living for the highlights sort of thing. So it's easy to fall into that trap. It was when I'm making content, I think I have to look for the approval of other people. And something I want to hear from you is, I don't know, do you ever judge your content based off how it does?
Sometimes, yeah. I try not to get into that as much. I've gotten a lot better. In the beginning, I was judging my content based off of like, how well it does. And then sometimes it would make me feel, bad. Like I would feel like, oh, I'm not good enough at this, or why don't people like my stuff? Like you get like into this rabbit hole. But I think what helped me was just realizing that I'm posting with purpose. And so like if I'm posting like a Bible scripture, or if I have like a motivational, video that I'm about to post, if only 5 people like this video and if only 10 people watch this video, those were the people who needed to see it. Like God has told me that like, whatever you do for me, I'm going to make sure it gets out. And so if 10 people see it, it's because I wanted those specific 10 people to see it. And if it only helped those 5 people who liked it, it's because I wanted it to help those 5 people who liked it. So I try not to get caught up in the likes. More, I like to focus on the message and what I'm saying. And I just know once I do it and once I'm obedient and once I put it out there, I know God is going to send it to whoever needs to see. So I think that's what helped me get out of like the numbers game. What about you?
You were talking about being obedient. Sometimes that doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it doesn't always get approval. I heard a quote, something along the lines of, if there's 10 people, like 7 people in the room are going to like you, 2 aren't really going to care, and then 1 person's probably going to hate you. And that's been something I've realized a lot at work, like reading through comments and stuff. Like no matter what the post is, there's always something negative people have to say. And it can be so hard. Like I'm a words of affirmation person myself, and I know you are a little bit. It can be so hard to like not latch on to that negative that one negative comment, that negative feedback, because you do want to grow. You do want to please everybody. For me personally, I feel like I've heard that so much that when you don't hear it, it's hard to just be like, man, what am I doing wrong? But you don't realize like how many people are actually, still in your corner.
Yeah, and I think also too with that, because I know that you said you sometimes struggle with like people pleasing, and I used to struggle with it a lot. And I think I've gotten, like, I used to be so bad, like it was debilitating. Like I could not make a decision for myself. Like I always had to, like, if someone was like, oh, we want you to come out, like I had to go out because they said so, even if I didn't really want to. Like it was so debilitating. But I've gotten out of that. Like, and I think what really helped me is just realizing like, it doesn't really like matter what people think about me or say about me. I have to validate myself first and foremost. Like I can't seek validation from others because it's a trap. People pleasing is a trap. Like you're never going to please people. There's always going to be someone who has something negative to say. Like you said, there's always going to be someone. Like you could jump and they're going to say, no, you didn't do that right. Jump higher. And then you jump higher. They're going to say, no, that was too high. Like there is always going to find something. And so you can't, seek that. You can't seek other people's approval. You have to validate yourself first and foremost, instead of like trying to find validation from others. So
I feel like it can be really debilitating in a sense, where it can stop you from moving. It's something that can make it harder to make decisions because you're thinking about how people are going to receive it and take it, when in reality, like it's your decision.
Exactly.
And another thing we don't really think about a lot, it's like people don't care as much as we think.
That's true too. That's very true. That is very true. A lot of people, we think that people are thinking about us so much, but really they're not thinking about us. They're thinking about themselves. Most people think about themselves all the time. So if you're in a room, you're like, oh, these people are judging me. These people are looking at me. They're really not. They're in their head. They're wondering if you're looking at them. They're wondering if you're judging them. So, like you said, it's like they really are not, like they really don't care. They're really not looking at us like that or judging us. It's
just so hard though. Like, especially on social media, you post and you're like, oh, this broad scope of people are going to see this or going to have you're giving people information to have an opinion. That's something that like you even have to deal with like public relations and companies and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But they're only consuming that information for like 10 seconds and then it's on to the next thing.
Exactly.
But like in your mind, you're thinking about that all day. You're thinking about, man, this person's judging me like my whole life, my whole decisions.
And yet they're really not care. They're on, like you said, it's social media. They're looking at it for 10 seconds. They might judge it for 10 seconds and then they're moving on. They forgot about it completely. So it's like, you really just cannot like get in your head about that stuff. Like you just have to not care. And I know that's like easier said than done, but that's what helped me not people please, is just not caring. I just learned to not care anymore at this point. Like I have to validate myself. And if I know that I put out a good piece of content, if I know that I did my best and I gave this my all and I know it has purpose and intention behind it, then I'm good with it. Whether you like it or not, I'm good with it. So you just have to learn how to not care.
Do you ever feel, is it ever hard for you to accept the reality that people don't like you out there? Like certain people, even if it's just like a minority, like I guess everybody has that. And for a while I didn't have that. Mm-hmm. And that's something like getting used to, like as you grow older, like people are going to fall off, you grow apart and things like that. Mm-hmm. But has it ever been hard for you to feel happy, or have you felt less happy because you knew people were not always on board with your decisions? Or
sometimes, yeah, I feel like sometimes so I still struggle with this. I still struggle with people pleasing. I've gotten a lot better, but it's still something that I, work through. So it is hard sometimes because I want people to, especially if not saying I wronged somebody, but if they don't like my decision or they don't like something I did and it hurt them in a way, or they just didn't agree with it, it does, in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, man, I don't want this person to feel bad. Like I feel bad when you feel bad, mm-hmm. Like I don't want that to happen. You just can't really it sucks, but it's just like at the end of the day, it's like, okay, this is my life. Like you're not living my life. If my decision that I made, if it affected you that negatively, okay, then I'm gonna try to make up for that. I'm gonna apologize. I'm gonna do what I have to do to make amends. But at the end of the day, this is my life and I have to live with my decisions. You don't have to live with them. So I have to go to sleep at night knowing like I have to be happy. And a lot of times with people pleasing, it's like, you know, you sacrifice your happiness for others, and that's not okay. And so just learning like, okay, if these people out here don't like me, you know, it sucks, but I can't control that. You can't control other people's feelings. You can't control how other people feel. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to try to focus on, well, I want them to like me, so I'm going to make this decision based on, you know, the fact that if they'll like me or not. You can't think like that, because then you're going to be unhappy. And it's not worth sacrificing your happiness for theirs.
Yeah, it can be really freeing too, to just, like, in a book I read, it was talking so much about the courage to be disliked is the courage to be happy. And that like has stuck with me. The name of the book is The Courage to be Disliked. You read the book, it's a conversation between basically a philosopher and a student. The whole book is just conversations, and they have constant disagreements, but at the end of the book, like, they have a great appreciation for each other. And that has really like resounded with me, to learn that you're never really free until you let go of what other people think. And that's an ongoing process, because no one wants to be disliked, but it's knowing like, if you live in a world where everyone likes you, you're probably not actually happy.
Right. Exactly. And it sounds selfish. It does. But sometimes being selfish is what's necessary, because you, like I said earlier, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And if you're unhappy just to make other people happy, eventually you're going to get so tired and you're going to start making everybody around you unhappy, because you're unhappy. So your cup is filled with unhappiness. You're going to just start pouring out unhappiness, and it's going to get hard to keep up with that. So you have to, you know, fill yourself. You have to make sure you are good before you can make sure others are good.
That's true. I think with a lot of people, it's a constant battle of, you want to please the people around you. You want the environment to be cool. Like, a lot of people value stability more than like internal kind of satisfaction. And that's the hardest thing. Like, when those people leave or those people are gone, you go to sleep with yourself, you know, at night, every night, and you have to deal with that with your decisions. So one thing that's helped me in this last season of life, you know, last year or so, is really just do what makes you truly happy and don't settle for less. Like, I physically cannot do something that makes me unhappy for long, to be honest. I don't know if you feel like that, but I'm a very passionate person. Like, I'm not happy being around you or, you know, what I'm doing. Like, it's, sometimes you got to look out for yourself.
Yeah. And you notice too that, like you just said, you'll start to like resent people. Like, if you're so unhappy and like you said, you can't be around that for so long. So if I'm sitting here trying to please you and I'm, you know, sacrificing my happiness, eventually I'm going to start resenting you for that. Right. So it's like, you cannot, you're going to make yourself suffer, and then you're going to make the people around you suffer. I think people pleasing too, we sometimes think it's about the other people. Like, we think, oh yeah, I just want to make them happy. But really it's not. You want to make them happy so that they'll think better of you. So really you're kind of doing it out of selfishness. Like, you want them to see you in a specific light. Like, you want them to like you. You want them to accept you. You want them to value you. That's why you're doing it. You're not doing it to really help the other person. And like I said, like, you can't do things like that, because you have to accept yourself first. If you don't accept yourself, you can't expect other people to accept you. If you don't value yourself, you can't expect other people to value you. So you have to value yourself. You have to accept yourself first before you seek that from other people. And I think that'll help you to stop people pleasing once you like learn to like value yourself.
Do you think social media can put you in a bind where like, oh, I'm really happy about this, I want to share it with people, but I know like there's a select group that may not be happy about it, or things like that? How do you overcome that? What do you like? Where do you derive joy from? Because I think you're saying like, if you seek affirmation in things, then you're only going to derive joy on how people receive it. So it can be hard, you know?
Yeah.
So like, what helped you get out of that mindset of like that their opinion even matters?
That's a good question. I think that's a good question. I'm trying to think, because I don't know. I think I still struggle with that. Like, when I post something and I'm like, oh, I want to post this, but I know like this group of people, they're not going to like that. I think what helps me is, and I know this just sounds like when I say it, it's like, oh, that's easier said than done. But I think what helped me was just like knowing that, like, just being secure in who I am and being insecure in what I know. Like, if I'm secure in like God has told me, like, you know, you're my child, I value you, I accept you, If I post something, it's because I know God gave me this thing that I'm posting. Like if I get a new car, let's say I get a new car or whatever, and I post it online, I'm not posting it to like brag or anything. I'm posting it because God has given it to me. I know I'm worthy of it. I'm valued. I know that. So I'm going to post it. If it makes other people mad or whatever, it's like, okay, well, that sucks for you, but I'm kidding. But like, it's just like, I think you have to really you just really got to not care, man. I know it's so easier said than done, but you just got to learn how to not care. I don't know. You just got to learn how to not care. I learned how to not care, and I don't know how to explain it, but you just have to not care.
It's hard because someone like me, I care so much. Like you probably feel that. Like it's
caring.
It's a positive thing, but how do you just care less, you know?
You just have to care less. So just stop. I know it's like so easier said than done. I just feel like, okay, so what is it that you care so much about? Like, what is it that you're like, what is it?
I think I don't want to be perceived as not knowing what I'm doing. I think that's what I hate, because I feel like I'm very aware. I'm very emotionally aware. I'm very intelligent. And when I can't control the perception of me not knowing what I'm doing when I really do, and it took a whole process for me to be like, that was a mistake, like this is, what I think I'm supposed to be doing.
So do you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. Then what's the problem?
No, it's just
you know what you're doing. So
it's just hard because you want everyone else to think that.
Well, even if they don't think it, you know it. You have to be secure in knowing, okay, I know what I'm doing. Even if you think I don't know what I'm doing, I clearly know that I know what I'm doing. So I don't care about what you think, because who are you? Like, I know what I'm doing. You have to be secure in knowing that, you have to be secure in your abilities. You have to be secure in your talent. Like, you have to be secure in yourself. Like, you can't. And if they say something or whatever, like, if you know you made a mistake, then you made a mistake. But if you know what you're doing, then you know what you're doing. Why does it matter what they think?
That's fair. That's fair. What's something recently that you were able to do and you're proud of, and you did it because you didn't care what anyone else thought?
Something I've been working on recently, I've been doing a lot of content with my Pretty and Purpose. I've been making a lot more videos. I've been making my YouTube videos. And I think I kind of see where you're coming from. Like with my YouTube videos, I feel like, I want the content to look really good. And I want it to, I want people to look at it and be like, oh, wow, she did really good on this. Like, this is amazing. But I think what I'm really focusing on now is more, instead of like worrying about, okay, well, are they going to like this? I'm focused more on like, okay, am I doing a good job at this? Like, what is the content that I'm putting out? Am I putting my all into it? So I just been focusing on that. And I think that's what makes me proud at the end of the day. Even if people don't like it, it's like, okay, if you don't like it, that's understood. But I put my heart into this. I put my soul into this, and I'm proud of it at the end of the day. So if I'm proud of it, then I don't need anybody else to be proud of it.
This is what I want to ask you. What makes you feel better, like the comments people leave or the amount of likes you get? Like, how do you judge impact when you post something, when you talk to someone? How do you judge impact?
I think I judge impact based on probably the comments. If people are leaving like really positive comments, or even messages, if someone comments and messages like, oh, wow, this really helped me. Like, I needed to see this today. Like, that's what makes me feel good. So like I said, even if I got like 20 likes, if I get one comment and they're like, wow, I really needed to see this, then I'm like, wow, I did a good job. Like, I did what I was supposed to do. So I think it's hard on social media. It's easy to be numbers driven. It really is, because that, especially with that being our job. Like, if that wasn't our jobs, then it would be like, okay, we're just going to post. But that's literally what we do. So, that's what we're judged off of, like in our jobs, is our numbers. But I think for me, it's more important to put out like purposeful stuff than it is to like get big numbers. What about you? What's yours? Like, what are you?
I think reading comments, good or bad, is a big indicator to me, because that's where you, like, even a negative comment is something we talk about at work. Like, you still have people engaged. People still care enough to leave a negative comment, whether they want to hate or not. So I think comments are powerful. It can get really easy to like lose the value in people when you look at the numbers, especially you see a post and you see 6 digits. It's just, okay, 6 digits, on to the next.
No, that's true. Something God told me too was like, He told me, because when I was so worried about numbers, when I was first starting out with Pretty in Purpose, I was so worried about numbers. And he said, okay, if you put out this video, like let's say it's a motivational video, you put out this video and it gets 100 views, right? On social media, that's very low. But if I were to put you in a room and put 100 people in the room and you get up on stage and talk, that's a lot of people. 100 people is a lot of people to talk in front of a room. So that kind of helped me too. It's like, okay, on Instagram, it might be, oh, that's just 100 views, but in real life, that's 100 people. So just imagine all those people sitting there while you're up there talking. Like, that's a lot of people. So you can't really think of it like as Instagram numbers. You have to think of those numbers as actual people. Those are real people behind those numbers, behind those screens.
I love that. I was just thinking about that. Like, you can't chase numbers. You got to impact individuals. I like that a lot. That what you said, that changed my perspective on that for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's what really helped me in my process and on my journey, is just realizing like these are people that I'm helping. These are not numbers. Social media is so easy to just get caught up in the numbers, but these are like real life people that we're impacting and that we're talking to, and that's important. Like, you have to be really people driven. You can't be numbers driven. You have to be purpose driven and people driven. And I think that's what helps when it comes to like, you know, looking at the numbers. It'll help you stop worrying about, oh my God, I only got 100 views, or oh my God, I only got 6 likes. Like, those are still people at the end of the day.
I think you do better work too. Because when you care about people, like, you're going to put out a better message.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree. I think too, for me, like sometimes because I know the algorithm a lot, and you know, there's tricks that you can like if something's trending, or like there's tricks you can do to make yourself get more views within the algorithm. But when you focus on things like that, you're not as impactful because you're focusing on the system. You're trying to trick the system. But when you focus on people and you focus on putting out a good message that can actually like help someone or touch someone, that's when you're the most impactful. Yeah. So, what else do you struggle with when it comes to like people pleasing?
I think it's like the big life decisions.
The big life
The big ones.
Ooh, that's not good. Why the big ones? What do you struggle with the
I guess it's like, to me, the pressure is it's not really in the decision or the commitment or, you know, taking the opportunity. It's like, it's how people are going to view it.
But why?
But it shouldn't be, right?
I know. So why? I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. Why? I'm acting like your therapist right now. What's the reason?
I guess because you get so honed in on like how we were saying earlier of you think you're so important and people care about you and they're thinking about you and like everything you do is like, oh my God. But it's like, that's not really the reality. And it's like getting lost in the reality that you're not as important as you think you are, type of thing.
Yeah, that's true. Not saying that you're not important. Not saying we're not important.
I know, but like we blow it up, like like everyone's, you know.
So like what big life decisions, like why do you think people will like judge you, or like what is the issue? Like you think, like what is it behind it? I
think, say for example, like in the past, being engaged, like that was hard to do, hard to get in and hard to get out of, like just because of the circumstances. You know, like people are automatically going to have questions when you do something that's like a little bit off brand, or like you wouldn't do it. And I think that's what I'm getting out of, like, how do you do stuff where you're like, like maybe you wouldn't do it that way, but I'm doing it the way I think is best.
Yeah. You just got to do it. It's you just got to do it. I think, and I know I said this, it's easier said than done, but you just have to get it in your mind. Like, it really does not matter what these people think about me, because at the end of the day and at the end of your life, like, God is not going to ask those people about you. You know, he's going to ask you about you. Like, you cannot, like, so their opinions just do not matter. Like, what they think, it just does not matter. And people who do judge you, they have bigger issues going on with themselves. Because it's like, why are you judging me? Like, don't look at, like the Bible says, stop looking at the speck in your brother's eye when you got a whole plank in your eye. Like, you need to be worried about yourself, worry about your own decisions. And so it's like, you just have to like, it's like, if they're judging you, it's because they got something else going on. They got their own issues.
You know, I'm thinking about, like, as you said that I'm thinking about, like, actually, how much do I actually care about other people and what they post?
Yeah, right.
And it's not that much.
Think about
it's really not that much.
Exactly.
There's like a select 2 or 3 people that I might want to check on. But other than that, like, I don't really care that much.
I think that's too for me. I think that's kind of what helped me because I realized I don't judge people. Like I really do not. I do not care what other people have going on. Like I really don't.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about myself than I am about other people. And so I just got it in my mind that everybody thinks that way. I just feel like everybody's just more worried about themselves than they are about other people. So it's like, I think that kind of helped me too with like stop fearing like what people think about me, because 9 times out of 10, they're probably not thinking about me at all, honestly. Like, so. Do
you think if you fear what other people think about you, you probably rely on other people's approval too much?
For sure. Fear of men is that's in the Bible. Fear of men is a deadly trap. Like, that's rooted in trauma, and it is rooted in like you care about their approval. Like if you're scared of what they think of you, it's because you want them to approve of you. You want them to validate you. And so that is just something like, I feel like that's something that people have to really work through. Like it's not something that you can just one day up and say, okay, I'm going to stop people pleasing today. Like you really have to dig deep, figure out the reason, like why are you doing this? What is the why behind the reason that you're trying to please people? What is the why behind it? Why do you want to be accepted so bad? Why do you want to be valued so bad? And so just getting to the root cause of it, I think that's really what helps people like get through it, because you have to heal from that. Those traumas that are rooted behind it, you have to heal from those.
You know what I'm thinking about now? I feel like that's, for me personally, that's like something from when I was younger. Like early, like elementary, like middle school. Yeah. Like, remember how I said I was quiet? It's like kind of tied to that. Like, feeling like I wasn't that liked or like understood, or just, I guess just not being that confident back then.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll definitely do it. It definitely starts when you're younger. And like you said, if you were quiet and you just felt like you weren't, like accepted or liked or something, that would make you want to be liked and accepted. So you're going to go out your way to like please people. So just getting to the bottom of those, I think for me, mine was, I was a middle child. And so have you heard of middle child syndrome?
Dude, I'm going to go as a middle child, to be honest.
Who?
I'm going to go as a middle child,
You're a middle
to be
child?
honest. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you are a middle child. So we both have it. That's the reason why. See, I'm just realizing how similar we are. Middle child syndrome. Okay, so that's when you feel like, you didn't have as much attention, or not saying that, your parents neglected you or anything, but it's just like the attention was either on your older sibling or your younger sibling. And so like for me, it was on both. Like my older sibling was going through things. And so, my parents had to deal with him a lot. And then my baby brother, like he was the baby, so he got all the attention. And so it was like, it's not that because I love my parents to death. They're probably watching this. Hey, mom and dad, I had the best parents in the world. I had everything I needed. I know. I had everything I needed. And so I'm not saying that my parents didn't give me attention. They did. But I'm saying as the middle child, sometimes you get left out. And so when you get left out, it's easy to be like, oh, like, why? Where's my attention? Like, it's easy to want to go find attention or find your validation, because it's like, I'm not being validated. Like, they're all on my older brother and my younger brother. It's like, where's my validation? So it's easy to like go out and try to find that from peers or like teachers or whatever the case may be. But I think middle child syndrome, a lot of middle childs, they are people pleasers. And that's the reason why.
Maybe you felt like this, but I always felt like as middle child, not that anyone else didn't, but I definitely had my stuff together for most of the time.
Yeah.
So then that's like, they kind of don't need to give you the attention,
Look at that. No, we're so similar. No, for real. I was the like A+ child. Like I had everything. I
ain't said all that. I was just,
I was the perfect child. My parents will testify. I was literally the perfect child. Like I didn't get in no trouble. I had straight A's. Like I was so they didn't have to worry about me. And the fact that they didn't have to worry about me is the reason why they, didn't worry about me. So yeah, that's true. Yeah.
What do you think is your biggest struggle? So mine is like people pleasing. What was your biggest struggle? Is it just the starting that we talked about, or is it something different? Like on a personal level.
My biggest struggle, man, I got all this written down. Let me see. My biggest struggle right now. I want to say my biggest struggle is probably like, I don't want to say having faith, but maybe it's just like being controlling. Like, I guess my biggest struggle right now is letting go of control. When it comes to like my future and everything, I think that's my biggest struggle. Just trying to believe God when he says everything is going to be okay. Believe him when he says, like, if you do this, it'll all work out. Just believe him and stop trying to do things my own way. I think one of the scriptures that I have been meditating on this week, is Proverbs. It's like, do not lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your paths. That's one I've been like really meditating on, because in a lot of times, in a lot of the decisions that I make, I'm always like, I'm thinking about on my understanding, like my understanding of it, my picture of it. But I'm only human. God has a much bigger and broader understanding and broader picture. And so I need to realize that he is in control. He knows more than I do. So I need to like let go of my fears and realize, okay, I don't have the whole picture. I'm only seeing this one part. I need to like realize that God sees the big picture, and I need to just let go of that control and just trust him.
You know what pleases God? Obedience.
You're right.
That's what you got to do.
You're absolutely right. I know. And I've been getting better. Like I said, this week I've been doing my content for Pretty and Purpose. I did work on my workbook, and I've just been like planning. I think too, I'm still stuck in the planning stage. Like
you just gotta go.
I know I'm such a big planner, but I think I find peace in that. I don't know what it is. I find peace in like organizing things. I think that's one of my spiritual gifts, but I find peace in like organizing and just like planning. Like that's my favorite thing. Like even this client I have, I'm working with this church, and like I had to do a whole content calendar for them. And I found like, it was just so like peaceful to me. I love doing those things, like just putting things on a calendar, putting things in a planner. So I don't know. I think I'm just stuck right there.
Well, it's just like, we can make the plan, but we got to do the plan.
Yeah.
You know?
You're right.
To me, doing it is the fun part.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta get better, but I have been working on it. And so I'm proud of myself. So
No, you're doing great.
thank you.
I was just saying that.
You're doing great too. I think, these conversations are helping, and the more we like talk and the more we read and the more we, just get together, like it helps, it'll help you get out of people pleasing, and it'll help me, get out of trying to, be in control. So what are you pursuing this week?
Something I'm pursuing this week: move without delay. Like, not hesitate, trust myself. I think if I want to do something and I feel confident in it, just like push it, don't wait. Because at the end of the day, no one's really going to sit there around and validate you to do something,
Absolutely. I love that. And if you guys are watching, let us know in the comments below what you are pursuing this week. And we just want to thank you guys for tuning in with us. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe on Spotify, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at _@PursuitPod_. Thanks, and we'll see you guys for the next episode.